This is everything you need to know for GCSE exam season. Do not, I repeat, do not. And to be honest, I would not have got through exam season without this. If you've clicked on this video, you're probably looking for some last minute advice for your GCSEs. So this is the video for you, and let's get straight into it. So I've split this video into 4 sections. The first section is priorities, the second section is cramming effectively, the third section is exam mode, so that revolves around the 24 hours within your exam, and then the last section is just general advice and motivation. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Starting off with prioritizing. Within this, I would 100% recommend, like I did, write down the dates of your exams and like how soon they are, and then on the other side, make a document and write down the subjects that you're most confident and least confident towards. Once you've done all of this, you're going to look at them together and see like this exam is last and it's the one I'm most confident about, so I don't really need to worry about it. I've made an actual square for you, which you'll see on the screen now. This diagram basically shows you what you should be doing based on how soon your exam is and how confident you are about it. So if you're most confident and the exam is soon, then you don't need to worry. Learn and keep on capitalizing on the fact that you feel confident about it and just keep doing whatever you've been doing. If your exam is most confident and later on, this is the best position for you to be in, because that means that you can use this opportunity to learn things that will help you get that higher grade, or things that will make you improve, whether it's your writing or mini skills that you can learn, or just practicing past papers. If you're least confident and your exam is later on, this is still fine, because that means you can do a little bit every day or every 2 days towards the exam. So you can grow your confidence slowly and your learning and your skills within that subject. And then if your exam is least confident and soon, this is the time for effective cramming, which is the next part of this video. When it comes to effective cramming, we are splitting this per like general subject. One thing I will say for all these subjects is study smart, not hard, because if the exam is soon and you're basically cramming, this is the time for us to not be reading through textbooks, but instead focusing on the information that we need for the exam. So I've split this topic into 3 sections. So it's going to be maths and sciences, and it will be essay writing subjects, essay based subjects, and then third but not least, languages. When it comes to maths, I'd recommend past papers as your best friend. Go on Maths Genie, go to the topic and look at the topic which you're like, yeah, I don't know this, and just do a bunch of questions on them. One crucial thing I would recommend is learning the process for maths as opposed to just practicing the questions, because if you're still getting the question wrong over and over again, there's a clear problem in the fact that you don't know how to answer it. So what you need to do is learn the process of it so that you can apply it to all different types of questions, and then you're done essentially. And just keep doing that for all the topics that you're not as confident in. There are a bunch of sites, a bunch of YouTube videos, a bunch of YouTube channels which you can use to help you aid and facilitate your growth in maths and also sciences. So one of my friends would recommend Invisible College for physics. He just watched these seminars and it would basically give him the basic understanding and then develop it and grow so that he would understand the subject or the topic. When it comes to sciences, I'd also recommend reading through your specification and going through the topics you don't know, like the ones you're least confident about within that subject, and going through that and using revision books, not textbook, because skim reading, yeah, you can do that, but I'd say that revision guides for me were always the ones that gave me the key information that I needed in order to learn for the exam. Some good ones I would recommend would be the CGP revision guide, and if it's for something like English, you can get like, type it in on Amazon and you'll find the topic for a book, like a revision guide for the play you're studying. And final thing that I recommend within sciences is going through the past paper answers. So as much as you're going to do past paper questions and practice them, looking at your answers is your best bet to knowing, if I say this, I get 1 mark, if I get this, I get another mark. Knowing what exactly you need to say in order to get the marks will definitely help you in not only understanding but playing the game, in that you know what you need to say to get the answers to the question. So if you're in a state where your exam is tomorrow and don't know anything, look at what you need to know within past paper answers for questions. And finally, practicals. So when it comes to to practicals, I would use Quizlet. So type on Quizlet and then type in the subject and you'll find some flashcards somebody has made on a practical that you need to know. Now, if you're short of time and you don't have that much time to learn, I'd say still at least learn 3 out of the 6 points that you need within a practical. Why? Because I'd rather you get 3 marks than none at all, and I'm sure you'd rather that too. So learn at least 3 points that you can use within a practical to help you for that. Next up, we're going to get into essay-based subjects. So essay-based subjects, I would say my 3 top tips within this are split into 3 different sections. Firstly, structure. Secondly, characters and themes. And thirdly, quotes. When it comes to structure, this is quite essential for your essay-based subjects. Before the day of your exam, you need to know how you're going to answer a question. So look at what you intend on saying in an introduction. Look at how you intend to structure your paragraphs in terms of, oh, 1 point in this one, 1 point in this one. I'm going to do 3 paragraphs, an introduction and a conclusion. And always, always, always at the end of every paragraph, relate it back to how this relates to the question. Because if you've written a whole bunch of waffle, in a paragraph, at the end of it, you explain how this relates to it. And that way you're helping the reader or the examiner at the end sort of get an understanding of where your mindset is at. So yeah, always relate it back to the question. For characters and themes, I always made a bunch of mind maps for mine. If you have a bit more time, I'd recommend doing that. So I would essentially write the character in the middle, put a line, quote, and then another line, and explaining what does this quote mean. And I essentially did that for every character and every theme, and that was the best thing for me because that's how I could remember it. But if you are short of time, I would recommend learning things as a theme as opposed to characters themselves, because that way you're learning less information and you're more likely to remember it. Last but not least, quotes. You need quotes. I had a bunch of quotes for my exam, but if you're struggling to learn them, my advice for you would be to learn quotes that can be applied to many different themes that they might ask you. So that way you're learning information that can be used transferably across a whole range of topics. Because for quotes, I'd say that there are 3 ways that you can learn them. You can either learn them chronologically, where you're learning it from the start of the play to the end. You can learn it thematically, applying it to different themes, or you can learn it character based. I would recommend doing it thematically, like I said, because you can apply it across different themes if you learn a quote. And finally, with quotes, I'd also try and say, in instances where you think a quote won't matter, try and apply it to the plot of the play and stating that within your answer, as opposed to just saying, oh, I can't use it. If you don't have that many quotes, but you can apply a quote to explain like the plot, that's helpful in one way or another. Moving on to geography, I'd recommend learning your case studies and learning those key points within it, and also using acronyms to learn the different stages within a process. I kid you not, I don't remember geography GCSE, but I did love it. But there were stages in terms of like how a cliff falls, or attrition and attraction. So things like that, I would make acronyms to help me remember it. And with geography, I'd say CGP revision guides are the way to go for this once again. When it comes to history, I'd recommend making timelines and mini essay plans. So with the mini essay plans, make a skeleton argument and document of like, okay, I'm given this topic and I'm going to mention this, and those will form your paragraph. Under all of them, write like the key bits of information that you remember and that are essential to what you've just stated your paragraph will be on. Once again, like I said, relate it back to the question they've asked you. Finally, moving on to languages, I'd say there's a bit more of a problem here because I think you're not learning that language, but things I would emphasize on is looking at the tenses, like learning specific grammar, learning key phrases which will make you sound a bit more that you understand the language, and also learning the tenses. So I think for Spanish there was like a present tense, a past tense, a preterite tense, an imperfect tense. Learning those different tenses, getting the actual understanding of that, and you're more likely to raise your marks because if you're writing what they've asked you to do in a different tense. But yeah, learn tenses for that and just do some flashcards and look at grammar. When it comes to resources for all these topics, I have made a document down below which you can click on and find for all the suggestions that I would recommend per topic, just because I would have found this useful when I was having my GCSEs. And so yeah, that will be down below in the description box for you. Next up, it is exam mode, and these are the things that you're going to be doing the day day before / the night before of the exam, the morning of the exam, and also whilst you're in the exam. And it's basically a checklist that you want to make sure that you've got through for each section, which we're going to go through now. So the day and the night before the exam, you're going to look through your specification and make sure, just read through it and see if there's anything or any topic that you've missed. Also look at the things you're still a bit of unsure of and just go to that topic and read it again. I'd also recommend the day before the exam going through the past paper answers once again, like I've said already, just looking at what do I need to say to answer these questions. Like look at how they mark it, because if you have an understanding of how your examiner is going to mark your paper, then just feed them everything they want on a plate. So looking at the past paper answers will do that for you. The day before your exam, you're also going to want to get a good night's sleep. Now sleep is something I did not prioritize at all during my exams, during my GCSE, and it's not something I'm proud of, and it's something I would not recommend at all. Like, do not do it. Just get a good night's sleep. Just try to prioritize sleep regardless of the position you're in. If you're tired and you're not going into an exam physically like up for it, then there's no point, and you're basically just putting yourself in a worse position than you would have been in if you did get more sleep. Last but not least, the one thing, like make sure you plan and organize how much time you're going to spend on a paper or different sections of the exam. Do this the day or the night before, just so you're not getting into the exam hall and like saying, oh okay, so I have this time. No, just get started. The morning of your exam, I want you to have breakfast. I also want you to make sure that you don't learn anything new, because there's no point, like you're not going to remember it. Also, you make sure you have water, you're prepared, and you have everything you need for the exam. So like if it's a maths exam, like you're going to need your maths set and your maths equipment with you. And if you're allowed calculators, like if it's a calculator paper, make sure you have a calculator. Like just be prepared. Or you might even want to set this all up the night before your exam, so that you just wake up and you know you have everything. Also in the morning of your exam, just look through your acronyms that you've made once more, and yeah, like you've got it. Once you're in the exam, the main things that I would recommend as soon as you get in and you're allowed to start writing is write down the acronyms that you've made, write down the quotes that you remember, write down like the formulas that you remembered or just learned literally before you enter the hall. Like write all of this down on paper. Also write down the time you're supposed to be done with each section by, like the time you've allocated to yourself, and that way you have it everything down on paper. You don't need to remember as much up here anymore because it's already down there, and get started. A couple things I would recommend further within the exam is looking through the paper first. Like just look through, get a general understanding of how many questions you have, so that way you know, oh, like if you're at this stage at a certain time, like that's good, or you might want to speed up. And last but not least, within this section, please, like please make sure once you think you're done, flick through the paper like 3 times. Like go through it, go over your answers, but not only go over your answers, but just make sure that you've actually answered every question and gone through the document to show that you haven't skipped any pages accidentally. Because I think I remember it was like my GCSE geography exam, I was like 10 minutes to the end and I'm flicking through and I'm like, right, there are a whole 2 pages like I just didn't answer because the pages were stuck together. So just make sure you do that. And last but not least, we are finally going to get into general advice and motivation. When it comes to this, as much as I did say before that focus on the exams that are closest, like prioritize those, I'd also say if you know that you have a couple exams coming up, do a little but often every day. That way, once it comes to the final exam, like you've built up your knowledge and understanding continuously and puts you in a much better position. With GCSEs, originally once I started, I was like, oh, like I was nervous, but then there are so many exams that it just became like second nature to go, sit the exam, leave, move on to the next. And that's how it should feel, and that's how you will inevitably feel. Like you'll just get used to the process of sitting exams. So try not to worry and try not to stress about it originally. I would also recommend to you to have some confidence and believe in yourself. Like don't let anyone's opinions of you, don't let your teacher's predicted grade make you feel like you can't attain something that you know is capable, or make you feel like you can't attain high grades for yourself, when at the end of the day you're the person writing the paper. So believe in yourself and have some confidence before you go into that exam, and you can do it. The last thing I would say is focus on yourself. I know some people like get stressed if they're outside an exam hall and like people are asking questions and you're thinking, oh, I don't know that, like I don't know that. Don't let other people stress you out. If you know you're someone who gets easily stressed by people talking about different things within the exam just before, then don't be around them. Like, just don't be around it. And after the exam, just try not to discuss your answers. Like, talk about how you found the paper with people, but don't go through your answers, because you'll just start feeling as if you're wrong when, like, at the end of the day, no one actually has the answers to the paper. So try not to do that. You also have teachers for a reason. So if I had an exam one morning and I was like, I still don't get this, I would find my teacher literally before I had my exam and get them to explain it to me. And yeah, so use your teachers to your advantage and let them help you, or use YouTube. It's free. Use resources that you can find. And yeah, that has essentially been it for this video. I hope you guys found it useful in one way or another. If you did, please make sure to subscribe, and also comment down below when your next exam is and how you're feeling about it more generally. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you have exams in GCSEs and you're about to start them, or you're in the middle of it, good luck. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for watching this video. It's been your girl Praise, and I will see you next week with another video. Goodbye.
Go, 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 shorty. It's your birthday. We gon' party like it's your